Terrifying moments caught on camera in Yellowstone National Park as a hot pool explodes, sending boiling water and debris high into the air.
Since the 19th century, the United States Geological Survey has worked hard to understand one of the most frightening natural structures in America, the Yellowstone Caldera. Yet, in 2025, after more than 136 years of intense study, the region still experiences unpredictable hydrothermal explosions, unexplained earthquake swarms, and disturbing tourist accidents every year. Why do these events keep happening after decades of intense research, and can the latest discoveries finally explain why? Join us as we explore the recent mysteries uncovered beneath the Yellowstone Caldera. Yellowstone's latest discoveries and incidents. Researchers at Yellowstone National Observatory have recently found a sharp layer of volatile rich rock located about 4 kilometers below the ground. This layer sits above the upper magma reservoir and acts like a natural pressure valve.
The composition of the magma and where the magma is under Yellowstone, and especially how much volatiles are in the magma right now.
This lets gas bubbles slowly rise through porous mineral grains and cracks, venting steadily instead of building up to explosive levels. It was recently discovered that this lid is what keeps Yellowstone stable without needing to collapse under the intense underground heat.
What's under Yellowstone, and they discovered that there is a really gas-rich, volatile-rich cap on top of the magma chamber.
But this is where things get interesting. You see, while this underground magma cap has kept Yellowstone stable for over a century, it has also led to serious tourist accidents and unexpected geothermal events, so much so that it warrants a possible shutdown. Let's take Yellowstone's most recent accident as an example. Imagine hiking through one of the most fascinating places in July, with steam rising from the ground in a way that makes the hot area look like something from a beautiful fairy tale. But under your feet is a geological disaster just seconds away from blowing up on you. Nature's beauties are often the biggest dangers, and sadly, on July 28th, a 17-year-old hiker would learn this the hard way. That afternoon, while the teenager was hiking on a path near Lone Star Geyser, his foot accidentally broke through the weak crust and plunged into a boiling thermal pool. Thankfully, the young man was rescued and taken away from the scene with serious injuries to deal with. However, this uncovered a huge problem. There were now many urgent questions that needed to be addressed. For one, why wasn't the area where the accident occurred properly marked and secured? If the ground was dangerous enough to cause serious injury, shouldn't basic safety protocols have marked and blocked off such areas? And why are visitors allowed to hike in thermal areas at all, rather than the elevated boardwalk provided? Unfortunately, the answers, as we shall see, can be quite terrifying. Let's start by addressing what happened on July 28th. To do this, we will have to grasp the sheer scale of what lies underneath Yellowstone. Millions of times bigger than a hot tub, Yellowstone contains more than 10,000 hydrothermal features. This area covers more than half of our planet's geothermal features and contains the most diverse collection of geysers, hot springs, mud pots, and fumaroles. The high temperatures in this area are beyond abnormal. The hydrothermal fluids in this region easily surpass temperatures as high as 200 degrees Fahrenheit, a level that can cause third-degree burns in less than a second. Surface temperatures get as high as 176 degrees Fahrenheit, with the highest temperatures reaching 195 degrees Fahrenheit. This effectively creates a cooking hillside in some regions over short periods that easily destroys trees and turns meadows into barren places filled with fallen timber. Add all of this together, and we have a deceptive crust that serves as nature's ultimate trapdoor. But this is where it gets really frightening. The thin crust that cracked under the teenager's foot is formed by mineral deposits from the hot springs, and this formation, under intense heat, forms a slightly rigid surface that protects the superheated water. Think of it like having a chocolate shell over molten lava. It looks solid, but it is fatally unreliable. Things like these have been studied by the United States Geological Survey since 1888, and after over a century of studies, it has been concluded that Yellowstone is constantly changing. New thermal features appear out of nowhere, like the 13-foot-wide pool with boiling water that appeared west of Tree Island. This shows that Yellowstone's thermal system is just as unpredictable as it is dangerous, and tourist accidents are just the tip of the iceberg. It was just last summer when a hydrothermal explosion occurred at the Biscuit Basin, an area known for its calming hot springs and colorful pools. This explosion was triggered by an exponential increase in heat and pressure under the surface, caused by the sudden change of heated liquid water to steam. The resulting explosion was powerful enough to send huge masses of water, steam, and large rocks flying over 100 feet above ground. This event caused a huge stir, with several news networks talking about the event. It caused a lot of damage to a nearby walkway built for tourists who wanted to view the beautiful landforms. Thankfully, it caused no harm to anybody close by, and while people in the media sensationalized the issue, the authorities in charge of the area released a statement implying that there was no reason to panic. They encouraged the tourists to keep coming, as what happened was just part of normal events occurring in the area. They also apologized that no one could see it coming and promised to take action to prevent such events in the future. But as expected, this message of encouragement did little to quell the fear among tourists. For them, knowing that such an event was quite common was only more indication that visiting the area was not worth the risk. But for the curious who weren't tourists, this explosion is just one of many indications of volcanic activities that are yet to be properly investigated. Without the necessary preparations, these great disturbances would lead to a lot of casualties, not just because of the minor geothermal events around the area, but mainly through the inevitable eruption of the Yellowstone Caldera. Just a few months later, on November 7th of last year, the Yellowstone National Observatory put out its monthly seismic report, a reading that gave the wrong impression and led to dire consequences. On the surface, it showed the current volcanic alert level sitting at normal with the aviation color code at green, but the many seismic activities mentioned in the report raise a lot of concerns. To fully understand the hidden implications of this report, we have to briefly go back in time to November 2004, a time when major signs of an imminent disaster were on the horizon, but were largely dismissed as normal because of the far bigger warning signs in the past 50 years that didn't lead to anything concerning. Sadly, this was when things went horribly wrong, as on December 26th, a powerful tsunami struck the west coast of northern Sumatra, Indonesia, taking thousands of lives and homes along the way. Now it seems history is about to repeat itself, as the experts at Yellowstone are doing the exact same thing. Many warning signs are on the horizon, but only a few of them see them as a threat. As we know, November of last year was a very busy month for the scientists at Yellowstone. This was mainly because of a very high spike in minor earthquakes, prompting many experts to expect increasing seismic activity in the coming weeks. Throughout the month, Yellowstone experienced a total of 88 earthquakes, with the most devastating occurring on November 7th. Just 2 days before then, there was a hydrothermal explosion at the Black Diamond Pool, one so powerful that it sent large rocks over 20 feet into the air, but not even that compared to what occurred during the final week, particularly from the 26th to the 28th. Simply put, it was a nightmare for the scientists at the observatory, as there was a seemingly endless swarm of over a dozen minor earthquakes that raised a lot of concerns. Because of this, many other experts were called to keep an eye on things while they put out a report on everything they observed in recent weeks, and the details were unbelievable. With almost 90 seismic events recorded and no major steps taken in anticipation, many saw the report and subsequent reactions as 2004 repeating itself. But besides minor earthquakes at various places, many leading geologists and geophysicists believe that an imminent major eruption might be underway if 5 major indications are occurring at similar volcanic regions at the same time. First of all, major ground swells have to be occurring at various places in the area. Secondly, there should be major spikes in temperature at geysers and hot springs scattered around the caldera. Thirdly, there would also be very unusual behavior among animals living in the area, usually involving many species running from their habitat due to the increasing temperatures. Major erratic bursts of steam and other gases should also be observable from various places, and finally, there would be huge cracks appearing at various places across the landscape. To better understand the full extent of these warnings, let's now examine each of these signs and what they mean for the caldera. To them, this event, which thankfully caused no harm to other tourists present, along with the observable geological uplifts and earthquakes around the area, indicates the arrival of a much greater disaster. This disaster would be far greater than the greatest volcanic eruptions in recorded history. To address this, the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory carried out further research into this, and the results were unbelievable. Yellowstone's surprising response. After a period of close-up investigation and research, the Yellowstone Volcanic Observatory told everyone not to worry about that either. This team of experts tasked with observing the most thermally active regions surrounding the caldera for potential signs of volcanic activity tells us that the probability of such a disaster happening anytime soon is close enough to zero. They claim all current seismic levels fall within normal parameters, with volcanic alert levels being at the same range they have always been. They tell us that if the geothermal explosion was an indication of an impending disaster, then all the indicators would have been on catastrophic levels long ago. This great concern naturally prompts the average mind to put themselves in the position of experts to have assurance that what they say is right, so they, too, can be just as calm about the situation. But to know for sure, we have to understand the nature, origins, and scope of the Yellowstone caldera. Only then can we understand how there could be no danger. This volcanic system is one of the largest in the world, and recent studies have given us a glimpse into the past eruptions which gradually formed the complicated system. These past eruptions were cataclysmic in every sense of the word, and the system was formed through a series of super eruptions. The last eruption is estimated to have occurred 600,000 years ago, with the resulting volcanic area measuring about 30 by 45 miles. Yellowstone National Park currently sits upon 2 great natural reserves of boiling magma, with both areas forming a massively complex system that greatly affects the surface. The upper chamber of this heated underground system is located about 5 to 20 kilometers below the surface. By conservative estimates, it is about 90 kilometers long and 30 kilometers wide. The resulting volume measures over 10,000 cubic kilometers, containing relatively vicious boiling magma. In many places, the heated fluid is very thick and unable to flow, and the liquid parts are about 20%, with other parts being too thick to be classified as a liquid. As we move further downward, what follows is the lower chamber, located 20 to 50 kilometers below the surface. This lower chamber contains more magma that extends over a larger area. It is what keeps the upper area as hot as it is through a series of conduits and dimmers. Having a volume more than 5 times larger than the upper chamber, the system is directly heated by a column of hot rocks rising from the Earth's mantle. The content of the lower chamber is mostly liquid, thanks to higher levels of heat, too intense for solids and fluids that are resistant to flow. With a never-ending supply of heat to the system, there would be increasing pressure, and when both indicators reach critical points in both chambers, a supervolcanic eruption would be imminent. This actively hellish inferno is what causes the geothermal events on the surface. It is what drives the hot springs, mud pots, and fumaroles in the region, making it one of the most geothermally active places on Earth. It was the driving factor behind the hydrothermal explosion of last summer. This and previous similar events are what led to the establishment of the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory. set to foresee and monitor signs of volcanic activity. This body of researchers and experts functions as a group of 9 different state and federal organizations always on the lookout for volcanic activity and other active geothermal features in the park. They constantly give regular updates based on their observations of seismic activities, and based on their findings, they come to conclusions about the presence of increasing volcanic activity. With this in mind, the team of experts report that while there would be catastrophic effects following a volcanic eruption, the current signs of geothermal activity are not valid signs pointing towards it. They tell us that Yellowstone has gone through only 3 major eruptions in over 2 million years, with the last one happening just 500,000 years ago. But as interesting as all that might sound, they still don't explain the fast-spreading wildfires happening at various places across Yellowstone Park. Lightning strikes, wildfires, and strange animal behavior. As of the making of this video, fast-spreading wildfires sparked by lightning have swept through Yellowstone National Park throughout the summer of 2025, with numerous fires identified within the past few weeks. Perhaps one of the most active fires so far is the ash fire detected on July 30th. As of the writing of this video, it has burned down at least 10 acres of forest in the Beckler area of Yellowstone. This is just 1 out of 5 fires that started by lightning strikes during a period of dry weather with the highest temperatures at Yellowstone Park. Officials from the National Park Service and the United States Forest Service tell us that Yellowstone has received over 500 lightning strikes in the past 2 weeks alone, leading to multiple fires across different parts of the park. As of August 2nd, the ash fire is burning in a remote part of the park. This area is called the Cascade Corner, found near the Beckler River in the southwest corner of Yellowstone. This place is a home of many waterfalls and landscapes, but during the dry season, it quickly turns into a dry land open to catch fire each time lightning strikes grasses, trees, and even under bushes. The ash fire was spotted by visitors and park staff, and firefighters were dispatched to control the situation, but the situation would last for days. This is primarily because the ash fire started in a remote location, making the arrival of equipment and crews to the region slow and difficult. As of August 2nd, crews are now working on the ground and in the air to keep the fire from spreading any further. Helicopters have been used to drop water over the flames, while teams on foot have been busy digging fire lines and clearing surrounding vegetation to block the fire's path. Like the other wildfires, some started through lightning strikes and eventually burned out on their own, while others are still active and being monitored and fought directly. But things get a whole lot more interesting when we realize that wildfires are a natural part of Yellowstone's ecosystem and are often allowed to burn under safe conditions. But at what point does a natural wildfire turn into a dangerous firestorm? The danger levels of the ongoing infernos in Yellowstone have been marked as high, implying that those regions have been shut down to prevent the spread of these fires. A high fire danger level means that the fires can stray easily and spread quickly. Many factors add to this part from the naturally high temperatures of the region, including low humidity, dry vegetation, and wind. Let's take the Beckler area as an example, where the ash fire is burning as a less visited part of Yellowstone, but still attracts backcountry hikers and campers. Of course, for safety reasons, park officials have closed multiple trails and backcountry campsites near the fire, with notices posted at various ranger stations and trailheads. Other events that made history and raised a lot of eyebrows at the observatories include the strange behaviors of certain animals at Yellowstone, most particularly among the bison, elk, and wolves. As we know, Yellowstone, like most other mountainous regions outside the tropics, can be very brutal on animals during winter, a time when those places become very cold and food becomes difficult to find. Due to the higher presence of food, bison are known for living in these elevated regions, but from November 5 of last year, experts in the Yellowstone Observatory noticed that these animals were now moving to lower places in the region, despite not having as much food as they would in the higher places. Due to the harsh winter, These bison found warmth in the lower places, where the hot springs and geysers were suddenly heating up. In contrast, elk moved to the much colder regions of the park. They preferred to stay in places that weren't affected by the volcanic activities. The wolves, on the other hand, mostly took the same routes as the bison, often preferring to stay in the much warmer regions, as it helped them become more active with hunting and other activities. They were found in many places they normally wouldn't be, including places near the Midway Geyser Basin. For better understanding, this was explained by Professor Mark Boyce, a renowned ecologist who worked at the observatory. He pointed out that animals are very sensitive to environmental changes, sometimes much better than humans. In this case, they noticed the sudden shift in temperatures occurring in the area and adapted accordingly. This points to a sudden surge in volcanic activities in the area, as he noticed this among the new gray wolves introduced to the park barely 2 years ago. With all that said, the future is more uncertain than ever for the park, and it's been for over a century. We'll just have to wait and see what the future has in store for Yellowstone. So what do you think? Are these new discoveries and past incidents worth looking more into, or are they just part of an overblown story of doom? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also, click on the next video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.